Hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at the Rainbird number 40. This old classic Rainbird that has the elegant arm on it, and they made hundreds and thousands of them, I'm sure, over the years. Probably as early in the middle 1930s all the way up into the 40s. And you're thinking, well, I've seen one, I've seen them all. And that's probably true to some point. And these are still very plentiful out there to find if you're a collector. But why am I doing this? Well, I'll tell you why. Recently, working in my garage, I've been getting things organized from a big move I was doing recently, and I've been finding things and organizing, putting things up and putting them away. So not only do I have one of these, I have two of them. And then I keep finding more and more, and I end up with 7 of them. I go, holy Toledo, how did I get so many of them? Well, I just accumulated them over the years. Some I found on some social media websites. Some of them were given to me. Some of them here and there in garage sales, you name it, they're all over. And I'm going to start out with this one right here. This happens to be a very low angle, low spray. And this one was heading my way from my good friend Kerry from San Diego, who had this. And he wanted to see me have one of these, which I thought was kind of rare. And I thank you, Kerry, for doing that. So as I was looking at all these, I've noticed that there are some little differences between all of these, all 7 of them. And I thought we could check it out. So let's get going. So we just kind of looked at the low angle, the low spray. And this is more your traditional classic that probably everybody sees is this style. And I do believe an older one. And here's the difference that I've discovered is that on the lever, the back of the counterbalance is more rounded rather than kind of squared shape, as you see here. On this one's kind of more squared shape. So you might be able to see the difference of those two. And also that the levers were actually cut a little different. I do believe this is the older one. It has a different shape to the arm. And the other one is more of a flat surface to it. So there was a little difference there. And then as I was looking further, I've been noticing that a lot of these, or some of them anyway, have a number stamped on the counterbalance. This one happens to be, it looks like a number 16. Now, what does 16 mean? Maybe it's a mold number, maybe it's a production year run, I have no idea. But anyways, I knocked them over. I found some of them with some numbers on them. So that was another one. And here's another one with a number 4 on it. So your guess is as good as mine. And here's one here that even has one of a number, I do believe it's a number 13. So there's all kinds of little interesting things. And again, these were made for so long, for a length period of time, that they probably had dozens and dozens of molds in the foundry when they were making these. And this one here looks like it's got a number 3 on it. Very hard to see. And this tall one here in the back has got number 13. So I thought we'd check them out. Also, I've noticed on this one here that the shank here for the body to go up and down is longer versus one that's here on the left. This is spring loaded, helps keep the the bearings together and move properly. This one does not. Now, I don't know if something happened to it over the years. It disappeared. It's possible. But anyways, it does not have a spring on it. Now, I tried to run some of these, and some of them did need some repairs. And I found a good source, another good friend of mine, Frank, up at Sprinkler Innovations, and he has actually repair parts for these things. Bearing washers and friction rings and O-rings, etc. I contacted Frank, and he was gracious enough to expedite these parts to me. And I was able to put some of the parts in some of these heads. And here's a classic one right here. Here's one of his friction bearings. So anyways, we're going to go and try these out and see how these work. Again, there are differences. Like this one here on the older style. I just want to point out one last thing. That you notice this area in the spoon. The spoon itself is actually fatter than one here. You see it's thinner. So just assuming that the one on the left here is older. And so there are some subtle changes in the production run of these over the years. And we'll try them out and see how it works. I'm knocking them over again. Also, I want to say is that they did have a lot of various nozzle sizes. This one here happens to be blanked off. It had a plug in it. So only had the one drive nozzle size. And most of them have the drive nozzle, and it had a opposite inner range nozzle. And it usually has a breakup pin inside there, as you see there. So the nozzles range from 7/16, 3/16, and then the inner sweep was 1/8, 3/32, 7/64. So anyways, all right, I'm gonna jump out and set them up, see how it works. So stick with me. So I decided to set all these Rainbird 40s up on some piping on top of the ground. I can't run them all at once, but I can do about 3 at one time. And decided to kind of set up like I did similar to the History of FEBCO on part 4. For those of you who have not seen that, I urge you to go and check it out. And there's some FEBCO remote control valves. And here's a FEBCO controller that we used back in that series. So I'm going to be using the manual switches on the controller to turn these valves on and off to turn their little zones on for the Rainbird 40s. Also, when I was setting them up, I noticed a few more little details I wanted to share with you. Notice on these two, on the spoons, this one's curved a little bit differently than the other one. Now, I don't know if it was damaged over the years, but it also has bigger nozzle set in there than the other ones. Maybe it has something to do with it, maybe it don't. I wanted to show that. And then finally, back on the low angle, I forgot to show you how the nozzles are cut on this. You can see that they're on a low angle, and the spreader nozzle is a low angle cut as well. So anyways, we'll see what we can do. We'll finish setting this up and we'll give it a shot. Okay, let's get started. The one closest to us happens to be the one that has the plugged off inner sweep. All right, we'll turn the first one off. And we'll go to the second one now. Yeah, the second one there is the low angle one. Thanks again, Kerry, for sending that along for our comparison here. They sure put out a great coverage. I guess they would be when they're spaced 10 feet apart. Sure be neat back in the day to see a whole field full of these all operating at once. Okay, number 2 is going off. And number 6 will be going on. All right, we went from 2 to number 6. And this one's running solo. This one needs all the water pressure that it could get with that big nozzle. And this happens to be the one with the bent spoon. Or at least I think it's bent. As you can see, this thing is really cranking out. I got about 130 pounds of water pressure today on this. So you can really see the amount of water it's shooting out there. They certainly do have good coverage. That's for sure. All right. That'll be number 6. And that's the last one. I wonder what would happen if we run 1 and 2 at the same time. Not enough pressure. Or number 6. Well, looks like it could. The very last one in the second zone, so we got 4 of them running. All right, well, thank you everybody for watching. Leave your comments, and we'll see you on the next one.